Hey everybody, Kevin Yannick with Pit and Quarry Magazine. Pleased to be joined today by Charlie and Richard Luck, who are celebrating the 100th anniversary of Luck Stone. Guys, great to see you. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, we're super excited to be a part of this, and thanks for reaching out to us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, exciting year. Obviously, it's been 100 years now for Luck Stone, and I feel like I see reports now and then about family businesses, getting to the third generation. Richard, you represent the fourth generation there at Luck Stone. How did you guys get to 100 years? Because a lot of companies don't get to this point in time, but here you are celebrating your centennial now.
Yeah, so first off, this is an incredible milestone. And you think about the obstacles in a family business to get to the 100 years, and they're enormous. So, when I think about this whole 100-year sort of look, I always go back to my grandfather, Pop, who founded the business in 1923. He was 26 years old, and I don't know what you were thinking about when you were 26 years old, but I don't know that I would have been starting a brand new company, right? And in that kind of time frame. And he went out and bought a team of mules and started a quarrying operation in downtown Richmond. And at that time, the business was extraordinarily manual. So you were loading broken rock into carts pulled by mules, taken to steam-powered crushers. But the thing I would say that's been so enduring about my grandfather is that he was a people person, and he believed in all walks of life. He was way ahead of his time with a railroad cook car that he brought in and put right next to the quarry. And he had all the men and women fed together every morning before they went out into the quarry. So that whole idea around people, integrity, and respect of all kind of walks of life was something that Pop founded and is still very much alive today.
Yeah, I'd also just add, it's you asked kind of how we got to 100. There's the business side of it. There's also the family side of it. And so, a lot of times we say, so goes the family, so goes the business. And I think there's been an incredible amount of intentionality through every generation to make sure that family unity is there and that the family dynamics are strong to make it through those transitions. And so both the family side and the business side have been a huge success and something we're super excited to celebrate.
We have been studying family businesses that are 100 years and older, and the statistics globally say that only 3% of the family businesses make it from generation 3, which would be my generation, to Richard's generation. So we started about 15 years ago studying the families that are in the 3%, and what did they do, and how did they work with young people and with the current older generation. And the thing that we found through all this work is that there are two things that determine the biggest determinants for success or failure in transitioning a family business. And you might think, did they reinvent the product, or did they have enough life insurance to cover the death taxes? But those are not the things that keep a family from transitioning. The two most important things are to build trust between the family members, and that's all the family members. So there isn't one special branch of the family who gets all the information and the other ones don't. So building trust was number one. And the second thing that's the most critical is communication. So that's a standard, regular diet of transparently sharing and information, gathering people together, and doing this at multiple generations over decades and decades. These two things are the most important: trust and communication.
Well, Richard, maybe I'll direct my next question to you. I mean, Charlie, you talk about what is effective for that 3%. Richard, what was it like growing up in the family business and knowing you're the fourth generation and what those statistics show? I guess maybe you could talk about being in the Luck family and around Luck Stone and what it's like to have been in a prominent business for the aggregates industry.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to think about my life without it because it's always just been such a big part of our life. And I remember growing up, we would always have family dinner, and Dad's asking everyone, "Hey, how'd your day go?" And so we're going around the table, and we all give an update, and Dad would give an update on his day. And so that always was a huge part. Was about Luck Stone and what was going on. And so it's just always been a huge part of my life. And I remember growing up, coming to work with Dad, and either going in the back and sitting with some folks in accounting, or if we were going on a site visit, he'd drop me off in the scale office, and I'd sit there and tear tickets and hand them off out to the haulers. And so it's just always been a huge part of my life, and something that I've always really had a passion in. And then I'd say my love for the business really started when I started at the company. I think one of the things that's so cool about family businesses is that the business becomes part of the family and the family becomes part of the business. And so I've very much felt that as I entered into our company. And I mean, so many people were had an orientation towards me where they said, hey, I want to teach you everything I know so that you and the family can do the best job possible continuing this thing. And so that orientation towards me was amazing and has been a huge part of my development and progression coming through the company, but also helping me develop a love for our business.
Guys, let's talk about the idea of growth, because that's something that Luckstone values tremendously. And to get to 100 years, you have to continuously be pursuing growth. In recent years, Luckstone has ventured into new states, in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia as well. Still tremendous roots and great history in the state of Virginia. But how did you guys grow over the years as you kind of look back on what your grandfather or great grandfather, in your case, Richard, started out and passed along?
Yeah, so I think back to my father's generation, which let me back up to my grandfather. So I think we had about 5 operations or so when my grandfather transitioned to my father, which would have been in about 1958 or so. And Dad was very growth minded. He did a tremendous amount of work along with Joe Andrews and other people within our company to greenfield growth our company. And that's largely how we got the sites that we have in Virginia. So as you all know, that's a very challenging process to go through greenfielding with all the education that has to happen with the communities. So that I would say that skill was honed and strengthened very much so in the 70s, 80s, and 90s within the company. We also, I would say, did some acquisition work, which some of that started with my dad, but probably more of that's been done in my generation. We have grown into South Carolina and Georgia in the last 5 or 6 years. And that has been a very intentional effort. We sold 2 of our businesses, the Hartrue Tennis Court business and our Stone Center business about 6 years ago, in an effort to double down on our resources and energy to focus in growth in, frankly, all 4 states, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. So we have deepened the team that is involved with all of that analysis, permitting, acquisition work, financial work, legal work has been strengthened and deepened, especially over the last 5 to 8 years. So this has kind of always, I'd say, growth has always been in our blood. My dad, for years, tried to do a new greenfield quarry about every other year. Yeah, it's been just a whole lot more sophisticated process here recently.
Guys, Luckstone's, from my view, being in the industry 10, 11 years now, it seems like it's a one-of-a-kind company in terms of its approach to business. Not cookie cutter by any means, valuing people, trying to ignite potential, human potential. Where does the idea of differentiating come from? Charlie and Richard, I guess that was probably rooted in your Lux from the past, but the idea of just being different and trying to take a different approach, for an aggregate producer, where does that come from?
Yeah, I think it comes from our people and it comes from the culture that we have here. And so, I go back to my great grandfather and the story that Dad was saying about them all at the first quarry eating breakfast in the cook cart, to my grandfather who had a slogan of "We care," and then Dad who's kind of institutionalized our culture into this values-based leadership and igniting human potential. So our culture's kind of always been geared towards the how versus focusing on the what. And that's attracted a certain type of person here that really cares about the how and how we do things. And so I think when you combine the people and that type of culture with a progressive mindset that's always interested in continuous improvement and that likes to set the standard and have really high standards around the way things are done, all that kind of combined becomes this kind of really special sauce. And then you kind of throw on top of that, we're a really unique size in the industry where we've got size enough to be sophisticated and have the resources to do a lot of the things we're doing, but also the nimbleness to make decisions. I think all those things kind of come together in this really special sauce that we're able to bring to the industry in a unique way.
The agribusiness isn't necessarily an easy business, and you guys have been doing it for 3 and 4 generations now. Charlie, Richard, what challenges, as you reflect back over the last 100 years, what challenges did you have to overcome? What were some of the big ones that allowed you guys to sustain success for this long?
Well, I think on the business side, I would go back to the mindset. My grandfather had this belief that you could crush stone with electricity, and nobody at that time believed that electric motors could turn a crusher without stalling out. And so we were the first one that we're aware of to drive a crusher through electricity. So what I'm talking about here is the mindset. And the mindset was to take risks, to do things other people hadn't seen before, that he could see a path towards more consistency of crusher availability, better safety. And then when I think about my dad on the business side, he and his team believed that we could crush stone without anybody at the plant. And so he hired an engineer from Philip Morris's cigarette manufacturing line, which was 100% automated at the time, and brought that individual into our electrical engineering group. And essentially, most of our sites now are fully automated and crush in the secondary and tertiary sections with nobody there. So this whole idea of constant reinvention, constant ways to invest in our people, invest in their knowledge, give them the best tools and equipment, has been, I would say, a part of the mindset of what we believed in. Dad, myself, my grandfather, Richard, we have always believed in reinvesting the money back into the company for growth, technology, tools, training, to provide the best employee, I would say, benefits, pay, compensation package. And all these things kept our mind focused on the business. We did not have some of the demands that take place in a publicly held company. So we were steadily focused on these kinds of things, along with the culture, which we've already talked to. And this has been our special, you might say, differentiator. And unquestionably, we will always tell you that it's the human element that is our unique difference. It's the people. It's trying to find the people who are aligned with our mission of igniting human potential, the people who are drawn to and want to be a part of our 4 values, which are leadership, commitment, integrity, and creativity. I say when somebody's alarm goes off, you want to be jumping out of the bed to go to work and spend time with people you care about that are at least similarly minded around core values. And then all of a sudden you get this crazy cool innovation that takes place, and people grow into what their potential is there for. So I think this is kind of a combination for sure of the actual what we do, crushing, sales, distributing, and the how, which is around obviously our mission and our values.
Well, Luckstone's made it to 100 years, and I can't imagine you guys are thinking about 200 at this point. But as you look to the future, retaining those values, putting it on people, finding ways to bring people together and maximize their potential. It seems like that will be a way to potentially get to 200 or 4th and or 5th, 6th generations. What are the next 10, 20 plus years look like for Luckstone? Do you guys have a vision for what you'd like the company to be like?
Yeah. And I think we set that vision not on number of people or number of quarries or a dollar revenue amount. I think we think about it as, how do we continually grow? How do we stay progressive? How do we continue the continuous improvement mindset, but do it while scaling and continuing to keep our culture? And so I see us continuing to grow. And then I think our biggest challenge is how do we bring our culture with it, right? So I would love 50 years from now for people to be calling us saying, hey, gosh, you guys have set the model for how to scale and have that family business feel and this great people culture. And how have you guys done that? And so I think it's one thing to do it here in Virginia, but as we grow geographically, that becomes a lot harder to scale that culture. And so I think that's the challenge ahead of us. I would say as we've slowly grown, we've been able to do a really, really nice job of that. We've had associates relocate to the Southeast. We've been able to institutionalize our processes down there. We've had trainings down there. We've brought people up here. And so we're doing a great job of that now, but I think our goal would be to continue to do that as we move forward.
Through COVID, Charlie and Richard, we've seen companies' culture tested, or we've seen companies change who they are in some ways, or adapt to try to keep things going. How was that as a test for you guys? It seems like your culture is so important, putting people first and creating an environment that is conducive to growth. How, these last 3 years, were you guys tested with your culture, and how do you feel like you've come out of it, if we're at that point, I guess, to come out?
Yeah, Kevin, I remember March of 2020 when this thing first blew up, and nobody knew what was going to happen, obviously. And right away, we sent the message to our people. We said, we want to pay you to stay home. And so all you have to do is call your supervisor. If you've got somebody sick, elderly, family, whatever, kids that are at home because they can't go to school. And so that immediately rocked people here. They were like, what? You all are going to pay us to stay at home for pretty much any reason that we believe is warranted? And so the bottom line is that sent an enormous signal that we were about them and their well-being, and we would figure out a way to make the operation run. So if anything, that brought even more, I think, pride, caring, loyalty between the company and our associates. So as we look at how that evolved, we certainly, I would say that we were quick to bring people back to work. Our operations, fortunately, people were able to be distanced, running loaders and being in a scale office and doing plant repairs and things. So we continued to work straight through. And then here in the home office, we had about a 60-day window, and then people came back as well. So we also, I would say, definitely have a more flexible work schedule for those that can. Obviously, you can't change a screen from home. You can't weld a loader bucket from home. But there are certain roles that can be done at home, or can have flex days that we have been much more proactive around and accommodating around. So, and obviously all the technology that we're now all used to is being used widespread in the organization. So we do believe that for us and our culture, I think every executive and every board had to choose how they wanted to run their business. And we chose the importance of people and human connection. And we believe that takes place when people are together, and when they're sharing, and when they're learning, and they have a mentor. And that's not you staying at home and being zoomed in for an hour or two a day. So we took that approach to try to, I would say, use technology as it made sense. But at our core, we wanted people to reconnect. And over time, this certainly over the last 2-3 years has played out where our customers, absolutely, they want to see us, and they want to problem solve and innovate between our people and their people in person. So a lot of that is, I would say, come back. And no question, we've learned so much, and we have adapted and innovated so much. We had a program which is now available. It's called Job Site, and our customers can place orders 24/7. They can see where their truck is, on the way to the job site. They can look at all their data around quoting and information and past history, all of it live 24/7. So we brought that technology up quickly when COVID came to place. And so that's another example, I would say, of innovation that came out of COVID for us.
You guys, 100 years is obviously a huge deal. Comes around once every 100 years. What are you guys doing to celebrate the Centennial at Luckstone this year?
Yeah, so this has been something that we've been working on now for 2 years. Our team that's at the head of this, we wanted to create a memorable, impactful, lasting impression with our 100th. We are doing things every month over the next 12 months. And so let me give you an example of what some of those things look like. First off, we want the celebration of the 100 years to be about our people and to be about our customers and to be about those vendors and partners that are part of us. So what we did not want this to be is about us saying how great we are and all that sort of thing. So for example, we had all of our retired folks come together about 6 months ago, and we did videos with them about their time, their learning, their growth. We have gone to current associates and asked them what are their dreams for their life and for their career and for their future. And it's amazing to hear the kinds of things people are doing outside of work and the kinds of things they want to do with their life and their families. We went to our customers and we said, we want you to tell us what have been the key milestones in your path as a customer. What has been the obstacles you've overcome? What are the things that you want to celebrate with us about you, not about us? Another piece of this, my grandfather and father were both very philanthropic, and we have always been a very big part of the communities. I remember the story about my grandfather, the fire department down the road here from the home office. They didn't have a fire engine, and they came to him. They said, will you buy the fire engine? And my grandfather said, yes, I will buy the fire engine. So we have always participated tremendously in the communities. So we have a program that will be coming out where our associates can choose nonprofits and organizations that they want to support. And so we'll be rolling out a process for them to be able to do that in a very meaningful way. Also, we wanted to make the 12-month experience digital. So there's a tremendous amount of video content. If you go to the Luck Company's website and you go to the 100th year anniversary button, we wanted to be able to have families and customers and vendors look at everything about our past 24/7. So we will be populating our website as we go through the year with new and fresh material. So at the bottom line for us is once you get to December of 2023, we want people to say, never seen anything like this, never consumed it this way, which is essentially whenever you want to consume it. And in addition to all these things I've just talked about, we are going to be doing customer events and associate events for people to gather, you might say, and visit and share as well. So it's a packed year for us. And we believe that we have the opportunity to ignite human potential, just like our mission says, by the way that we are going through this 100th anniversary. So it's super exciting, and can't wait to see the reactions. We've already started, and people have been talking about what is already out there and the things that they're already experiencing.
Yeah, and it's been fun to see our associates' responses to this, because everybody wants one big event or a coffee table book, and we're trying to explain this being a little different. And so I think people are grasping onto it and starting to get what this experience will look like over the 12 months. So it's incredibly exciting.
Yeah, this is a living, breathing celebration. I feel like over the years, whether it's our industry or outside, you see kind of a one-time thing like the coffee table book, Richard, or some sort of celebration. But the fact that you guys have events and touch points throughout this whole calendar year, that's fantastic, and getting creative to get everybody involved, it sounds like, too.
Definitely.
Yeah, we definitely want to do it different and better.
Well, Richard, Charlie, maybe we'll leave things on just the feeling that getting to 100 means to you guys. I can't imagine, Charles Luck Jr., Charles Luck III ever imagine getting to 100 years. Maybe it was a thought in their minds at some point, but here it is, 2023, all the way from the founding year of 1923. What does this mean to you guys, the fact that you're here celebrating 100 years right now?
Yeah. I know for me, it's been kind of the beginning of a year of reflection, because you kind of get to pause a little bit and just think about everyone that's gone before you and everything that's happened and all the innovation and commitment and the people that have gotten us to where we are. But it also gives you the chance to kind of pause and think about the future. And we've got this huge responsibility to steward what we've been given, but then also stand on top of the shoulders of the people that went before us and make it better. And so I think you kind of get to look forward and backwards here at the 100th year. And it's incredibly special.
Yeah, Kevin, I've been actively involved with the committee over the last 2 years. And in the second week of January, we essentially rolled out the first section to all people across 4 states on one particular day. And it was way more emotional for me to see it all come together and the beginning of it coming together. And when I reflect on the photography that I look at, and I remember being 10 years old when that picture was taken, and I remember these people that aren't with us anymore, and I remember when we tried to open this new site, and then when we brought this piece of technology on board. And so it has definitely had an impact on our people in a way that I think is so positive, so uplifting, and certainly it has on me. So I had one of the associates come to me right after we did the rollout here at the home office. We had a lot of folks gathered for that, and they said, this has given me a totally different appreciation for how we have become who we are. And the individual said, I feel even more responsibility to do the best job that I can during my time, because I realize that I am a part of a much bigger thing. So I think we've got all kinds of unexpected positive consequences coming that frankly we couldn't have crafted, or we couldn't have, you might say, imagined. I think we are in for a incredibly meaningful 12 months that will exceed, I think, almost everybody's idea of what this is all about.